And we're back. At this point in the story, the pastors went home from the church for the evening, still upset and disgusted that he's had to deal with what he believes to be some poor, dingy ragamuffin human being. He feels it's a waste of his time as a pastor, when he could be doing more important things with his life, not realizing that this is actually God's messenger in disguise come to test him. That night, while sleeping in his cabin, the pastor is awakened by his cabin door being slammed into the wall. Pastor gets up, he looks around, there's nobody there. He goes outside, he can't see anybody. He sees a light through the woods where his cabin's at. So he walks toward the light, and he continues to walk toward the light. And as he walks toward the light, he comes to a path, and he takes the path which takes him to his church. And his church is all lit up, and he knew he locked the church up. He can't understand why the church is lit up. As he walks up the steps to the church doors fly open. He walks through into the sanctuary, and the inner doors fly open into the chapel. And on the wall is a great wooden cross. And there on the wall is what appears to be a man who has been hung on the cross, draped in white, with a crown of thorns on his head, with his hands and feet nailed to the cross, bleeding from his head, his eyes, his nose, and his mouth, and his hands and his feet. The pastor is shaken to his very core at the sight of this. He looks around, and the man is surrounded in ethereal light. This terrifies the pastor. And at the same time, he looks just below where the cross is, where the man is being suspended on the cross. And he sees himself chained to the pulpit, on his knees crying in anguish. Screaming and crying, "Why, God, why? No. Why, God, why?" This terrifies the pastor. He's so terrified that he runs out of the church. And the man that the pastor sees hanging on the cross is none other than the messenger. But the pastor doesn't recognize the messenger, because the messenger at this point does not appear to him as the poor person, but as the messenger. And the pastor is running through the woods screaming. But he can't seem to find his cabin. He's surrounded by woods, and he can't seem to get home. He can't seem to find his cabin. All of a sudden, the pastor sits up, bolt right in bed, sweat dripping down his face. He gets up, he goes over, and he splashes water onto his face. He shakes his head. And we'll be right back.